Republican strategist and finance chairman of the Republican Governors Association, Fred Malek, who joins us from Washington, D.C. Fred, let me ask you this question. Back on May 31st in the Washington Post, you wrote a pretty tough op-ed about Donald Trump after he attacked Susana Martinez, and you worried about his lack of discipline and told him he needed to change. That was all before the entire huge controversy of Judge Curiel. So at this moment, how do you think what kind of progress is Donald Trump making in changing in a way that you think is going to help him win the presidency so far?
Well, to my surprise, he's not taking my advice. I don't think he's taking it. I think he's kind of doubled down on some of his criticisms, although I think it's a step in the right direction to try to step out of it in his statement today. But nevertheless, I found his statement on Judge Curiel to be rather distasteful and discouraging. There are a lot of us in the Republican Party who want to come around and support the nominee of our party. He's just making it more difficult.
Fred, you probably talked to, if not the exact same donors we've talked to, the same kind of donors and bundlers and big financial supporters of the party. Give us a sense of how freaked out people have been in the last 72 hours.
Well, I think people have been looking for Donald Trump, once he secured the nomination, to be kind of moved more toward a not a centrist position, but a position that unifies rather than divides. I think they're looking for him to be more presidential and to bring people together and to make peace with all important groups in our country that are going to be so important in the vote in November. And I think there's disappointment that he hasn't done that yet.
But Fred, if I
moving in that direction.
Fred, if I can interrupt, you said disappointed. My guess is you've heard more than disappointment. You've heard people freaking out and wondering, is this really our nominee? Is that not true?
No, it's really not true. People accept that this is our nominee. Look, many of us would have pined for Paul Ryan, a Mitt Romney, or even a Jeb Bush, or a David Petraeus, or Stan McChrystal, or somebody like that. It would be great if we'd had our choice. But we didn't. He won. He won fair and square, and he is the nominee. Now you got a choice. Do you support the nominee or your party, or don't you? I think the point is people are still of an opinion that we need to change the direction of the country, and that's why they want to be supportive of this nominee.
Fred, you said before that you thought that Trump's comments about Judge Curiel were distasteful. Today, Paul Ryan said they were the textbook definition of racist. Do you agree with that or disagree with that?
I'm not going to comment on what a definition of racist is. I put out a tweet earlier that said I was very disappointed in it, that I found it, I don't remember the exact words, but even more reprehensible than his comments on Susana Martinez. I think it's perfectly fair to question a judge's impartiality to do it in court, but not based on his ethnicity. I think that's wrong, and I think it really speaks so ill of him. And you know what? It hurts him more than anybody else.
So to go to the question of discipline that you raised in your op-ed, Fred, you know, this controversy broke out now several days ago, and yet yesterday Trump was continuing, until today, to go further and further, repeating these criticisms, urging his surrogates to repeat them. Does that speak of a kind of discipline that's required of a nominee of either party, for that matter, to be a successful presidential candidate?
Well, in my op-ed, I spoke to the lack of discipline and the fact that he must have more discipline if he's going to win the election. You got to sit back and think about what you're going to say and how it's going to affect people. It's hard to believe that he would sit back and think, gee, if I attack this judge based on his ethnicity, that's going to be a good thing. It just doesn't seem it's plausible that anybody would think that's a good thing.
Right.
So I was highly disappointed that he did it, and it does speak to a lack of discipline. He needs to bring it together. We want to be there for him, but unless he can bring it together and give us a reason and show he's a man of inclusion, not exclusion, and be more tolerant of others, it's going to be very hard for us all to rally behind him.
Fred, can you explain the constellation of Trump super PACs and how a wealthy Republican who wants to help him should decide which one to give to?
Well, I think you're overemphasizing super PACs to start with, and I don't understand the constellation. I think they're if Sheldon Adelson is giving $100 billion to one, that's one I'd want to be associated with. But I think even more important than the super PACs, and something that's not been reported on too much, is the fact that you need money in your campaign chest, not just in the super PAC. It's the campaign that hires the people that run the organization, that put out the ads that you can target, put out the direct mail, that develops the organizations in the states. These are organizations that have been put together over decades by the Clintons and several years by any other presidential candidate. He's got 2 months to do it. He's going to have a serious financial disadvantage to Hillary Clinton.